This podcast is sponsored by nobody. Hey dudes, welcome to Splat from the Past, the only 80s themed horror sci-fi show where things can get totally radical. Now today I will be welcoming back the gorgeous, the talented, the sweet, the bosomy Tessa Richarde, and we are going to nerd out on the entertainment of our youth today, talking about film, television, and music. Tessa, of course, grew up in the 50s, 60s, and we're going to talk about, all the old entertainment she grew up on, and I'm so friggin' excited. Tessa and I have become really good friends since the last podcast. We call and text each other a couple times a month, and she is just a sweet, awesome person, and she's a great listener and just plain fun. And I'm so happy to have her back on today and stuff. And I finally got a new laptop. I spent 2 weeks looking at a pink screen, and it was driving me crazy. When I was growing up in the Bay Area, we used to have this newspaper called the Pink Page, where we look at all the events that's coming up in town. This is pre-internet. We find out where all the concerts were and everything. I felt like I was looking at the Pink Page on the computer screen. It was just so weird. But this new laptop, oh my God, it's chrome, it's gray, it's friggin' working. I love it. It's small, but it works. This laptop is friggin' awesome. And I'm gonna love it and hold it and squeeze it. Well, not squeeze it too hard because it's brand new. Oh my God, I sound like the abominable snowman in that Looney Tunes cartoon. So yeah, here is my new interview with Tessa Richarde. Hey Tessa, welcome back. How are you today, hun?
I'm fine. How are you?
I am fabulous. How's the weather in North Carolina?
It's absolutely beautiful today. It's sunny and it doesn't feel like the first day of fall. It feels more like still summer. It's gorgeous.
Yeah, I expected it to be a heat wave over here, but it's not. It's still beautiful, but I've got my clothes on, so.
But it's not as hot as it was. I know you had a terrible heat wave in California.
Yeah, we did. We did. I've only done one nude podcast. Back in Halloween of 22, I told my friend Marie that I was going to be naked for Halloween and stuff. And so we did a podcast that day and stuff, and I was nude, and she didn't mind. She's a French Canadian, so
She's more liberal.
yes, indeed.
Yes.
So
Oh.
going back in time, do you remember the first movie that impacted you as a child?
Oh, that's an amazing question. I remember a movie that was actually a little bit upsetting to me called The Yearling, and it was about a
Oh,
boy who was from a very poor family, and they lived in a very rural area, and they, had a big garden, and that was a lot of their food source, and there was a deer, the yearling, that kept eating the food, and at first the parents tried to make the deer a pet because the little boy was so in love with this deer,
hmm,
and the deer just kept, eating the food, and at the end of the movie, they said, "Look, we have to kill the deer because this is our source of food. It's keeping us alive." And so the little boy was horrified, and so the father went out to shoot the deer, and the little boy said, "No, you're not going to do it. I'm going to do it." And he ended up killing his deer, which was his pet, and he loved it. And the movie upset me so much, and I don't know if that's why I'm an animal rights person to this day. But that movie impacted me. I was very, very young when I saw it, and it was on television, and um, I understood the premise of the movie because they were poor and they needed that food to survive, and they tried everything
right.
to keep that little deer, the little yearling, as their pet. But unfortunately, it didn't work out, and so it It stayed with me for a long time. No one has ever asked me that question before. That's a fantastic question.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, The Yearling with Gregory Peck. It's a great movie.
It's a very well done movie. I believe it was a novel. I could be mistaken, but I do believe it was a book, and they made it into a movie. And it was very upsetting, but the movie was very well done. If that makes sense.
Oh, absolutely. Well,
Yeah.
they adopted a lot of movies, in a lot of books and movies back then, so
Yes,
it's quite
it did.
possible it could have been. Yeah, I mean, Back to the Future impacted me, because I always had that fantasy of going back in time and finding out why my parents are so fucked up and why I'm so fucked up,
I
And
actually also loved that movie. That was
mhm,
a little bit later for me, but with my age. But Back to the Future really was food for thought because I always think about going back in time
yeah,
and fixing the mistakes that I made and, the bad choices that I made in life. And I think about it constantly, but I don't know. What do you think? You think there's going to ever be time travel or no?
I don't know. I mean, it's a fantasy that I can only hope for, but it would be great to have time travel.
I think, as they say, it would change the future, but at the same time, I think a lot of things would change the future for the better. I always think about what if people went back in time and stopped Martin Luther King Jr. from being assassinated, or
Oh yeah.
President John F. Kennedy, or just different things that you could go back and change. I know that it would change history dramatically, but on a personal level, I know that I would change a lot of the choices that I made when I was younger.
Hmm.
And people say that it makes you who you are and you shouldn't have regrets, but I disagree. I have a lot of regrets, and I wish that I could have made some better choices. But I don't think that we ever will have time travel, but then
Hmm.
again, you never know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. What genre did you gravitate toward the most when you were growing
What
up?
genre in film?
Yeah.
Um, I would say mystery. I love mysteries, but I also love, I do love when there's romance involved with it.
Hmm.
I guess I like a mystery, but there's something romantic involved with the movie as well.
Oh yeah, like the
And
char-
I do like comedy,
yeah,
I have to say.
I like you probably like the old Cary Grant stuff where him and a woman are like paired up and they go on this little adventure.
Yes, in fact, Cary Grant is probably one of my favorite um, old time actors. Bringing Up Baby and
Charade.
Charade was amazing. I loved him in Charade. And also, he had a really funny movie that's a little more obscure called My Favorite Wife. And it is zany and wacky and well done. And if anybody's listening and they're looking for an old retro movie, black and white with Cary Grant and Irene Dunn, it's called My Favorite Wife, and it's really well written and very, very funny.
Wow.
I also like
Yeah.
the Spencer Tracy and
Catherine
Katharine Hepburn
Hepburn.
movies.
Yeah.
I find them great. And what about you? Do you have a favorite old movie?
Oh, so many. But like,
I know.
mine were like comedy and horror were like my two favorite genres growing up. I mean, The Shining was the first horror movie I saw because my parents didn't like horror, but they loved Jack Nicholson, so we watched it starting when I was like one, and it fucked me up, I'll tell you.
Yeah, The Shining was pretty terrifying.
It was, and like I went back and watched it when I was seven, and then next thing you know, it's my go-to horror movie every Halloween. I loved it. I loved it older, because it was chopped up when I saw it the second time.
Yeah,
No,
I was very friendly with someone in that film, Scatman Crothers.
oh yes, I've actually met a lot of people who knew Scatman, and God, he was just so amazing. What a talent he was.
Very talented. He was telling me a story about Stanley Kubrick, that Stanley Kubrick, the director of The Shining, was a stickler for getting the scene the way he wanted it. And I went out to lunch one day with Scatman, and he was telling me that Stanley Kubrick made him do the scene over and over again, where I think I haven't seen the movie in a long time, he may have fallen in this scene, but anyway, it was a physical scene, and he was an older man, and he said he made him do it something like 86 times. He said it was like crazy because, you know, it's exhausting, and he was an older man at the time, and he said he was a wonderful director, but he made people do the scenes over and over again. So, I don't know, I guess working with Stanley Kubrick was, you know, a feather in actors' caps, but I don't know if I would want to work with a director that maybe do the scene over.
Oh, no. In fact, he said to him, "What do you want from me, Mr. Kubrick?"
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and of course we all know what happened to Shelley Duvall. That was awful too.
Oh, Shelley Duvall, and you know, a friend of mine knew her not well, but you know, like acquaintance, and she said that Shelley Duvall was so nice, like such a sweet person, and I know that she suffered mental health issues.
Yeah.
Poor woman, you know.
I just love her quirkiness and just how adorable she was. She kind of scared me in the beginning, especially in The Shining, because I had never seen someone as waif-like like her, you know, and have such a square-jawed teeth. But then as I got older, I began to appreciate her beauty and her talent. I loved it in Annie Hall when you know, she has sex with Woody, and then afterwards she's smoking a cigarette, and her belly button is showing. It was so adorable, and she says to him, you know, "Sex with you is a real Kafka-esque experience." And he says, "Thank you."
Right, I forgot about that scene. That movie actually was really, really funny. It was just classic, and I remember Carol Kane was in the movie as well.
Carol Kane, she played Alison Porchnik. She's the liberal Jewish girl from New York who's getting her thesis on political science or whatever it was that she was studying. And, you know, he uses the Kennedy assassination as an excuse not to have sex with her.
I can't believe you remembered her name, Alison Porchnik. That's right.
I own every VHS print of that movie because I love it so much. It's my favorite romantic comedy ever.
You know what? It's actually, for a long, long time, it was one of my favorite movies. It still is. I mean, I still think it's a masterpiece. Yeah. Unfortunately, Woody Allen went through, you know, a scandal, and allegedly he had sexually abused his daughter. I don't know whether it's true or not, because it is, as I said, allegedly he was supposed to have done it, and it disappointed me so much because he was actually one of my favorite directors, and just knowing that if he did do that to a child, I find it, you know, reprehensible.
Yes.
But as far as the film goes, it's a fantastic film, and I remember a lot of the lines from it, but wow, you really got it down.
Yeah, I do. I love that whole movie. It's just, from start to finish, I just love it. Yes.
Would you say that's your favorite comedy?
My favorite romantic comedy.
Romantic.
Yeah.
So what would your favorite, just all out, you know, general comedy be?
God, I can give you several. What's Up, Doc?
That was a good one, yeah.
Animal House, The 40-Year-Old Virgin. I love a lot of Mel Brooks stuff, like Blazing Saddles and Young Frankenstein.
Yeah, they're great. Yeah, absolutely. There's just so many films that are, like, amazing. It's so hard to just pick one, but there are so many that are just awesome. I want my daughter to see some of the older movies, the classics. Yeah. But she's always out with her friends and stuff. But I don't want her to miss out on that, you know, genre of film, because it's so amazing. And a lot of the kids today, you know, they don't really know the old-time actors and actresses, and I believe they're missing out.
Yes, I know. Oh, my God. We could be here till next week talking about that, because it drives me crazy about how I went to a horror convention back in 2018, and There's this it's I wouldn't say it's obscure, but like it's not a really well known horror film. It's called The Stuff. It was directed by Larry Cohen. It's about a frozen yogurt dessert that eats people after you eat it. And so I don't know how old this guy was, but he's like, "What's the stuff?" I'm like, "You're at a horror convention and you don't know what the stuff is," you know?
Yeah, if you go to a horror convention, you should know the different horror movies. Absolutely.
Yeah. Oh my God.
That's
It was,
so funny.
it was crazy. I love Blake Edwards movies like The Pink Panther and all the other stuff he did. I've had his daughter
Yeah.
on.
And
I've had his daughter on twice. I love her.
oh wow, oh wow, yeah. He was married to Julie Andrews, wasn't he?
He was married to Julie Andrews. He got her to take her top off in the movies.
That's right.
SOB.
What movie was it in?
SOB.
Oh, that's right. That's right. And he also directed 10 with Bo Derek.
10. Yeah, love that
Did
movie
he
too.
direct 10 with Dudley Moore and Bo Derek, I believe? I think he directed that.
Yeah, his daughter told me that was a semi-autobiographical kind of a movie, and that's a great testament to just how raunchy her dad's sense of humor was.
Yeah, no, Blake Edwards did some really funny movies, and as you say, Mel Brooks as well. Young Frankenstein and Blazing Saddles, and they had that.
Hmm.
He had that more of a broader humor.
Yes, the broader humor, and also too, it just there was a lot of those old guys. They loved slapstick, like Chaplin and Harold Lloyd and Buster Keaton and stuff. And
Oh,
just like
absolutely.
after that, I mean, after that generation, like slapstick was gone. It wasn't in the psyche of a lot of people that came after them. You know?
Yeah, I think they're, like you said, more like Blazing Saddles and those kind of movies had more of it in it. And one of my ex-husband used to love a movie that I actually feel bad that I haven't seen. I've only seen bits and pieces of it, but he loved the movie Caddyshack.
I love
And
Caddyshack. That's another one I could quote from start to finish.
yeah, my ex-husband loved that movie, and he kept saying to me, "Tess, you've got to see Caddyshack." And I remember, like, it would be on, and I'd be, like, cooking in the kitchen or something, and I would only see bits and pieces of it. And he said, "You have to sit down and just, like, watch it." He goes, "It's such a funny movie." So I always remember him telling me that. So I really should one of these days, if it comes on TV, just watch it. But one of my favorite comedies, though, is My Cousin Vinny.
Yes, yes. I love that movie. That's another one I can quote from start to finish. I love it.
Yeah, I know a lot of the lines in that one too, and I just think Marissa Tomei was. I mean, she won the Academy Award.
Right.
She was really, really funny and really good in that movie. And the whole script was written really, really well because they had the southern point of view and they had the northern point of view, like New Yorkers in the South. And I was raised in New York,
Yeah.
but I've lived in the South for like 16 years.
Yeah.
And so I actually know both cultures really well, and I just love that movie. It's probably one of my favorite comedies.
Yeah, she played Mona Lisa Vito again on Saturday Night Live, and she was a witness at the OJ trial. It was really, really funny.
Oh, I wish I had seen that.
Oh, it's out there. It's on YouTube.
Is it really?
Yeah.
I've got to look that up. That sounds like it would be so funny. Oh my gosh.
It was.
Wow.
It was.
Yeah, I really like her. So it was good. I haven't really watched too many films lately. I don't know, just been kind of streaming stuff on Netflix and watching things that I can't see during the week.
Right.
So I record them and then I watch it on the weekend because I do like a lot of reality TV. Like I like Dancing with the Stars and The Bachelor. I like Bachelorette and The Bachelor in Paradise. I don't know. For me, it's just like a distraction, and I just find it to be so entertaining. But I really need to sit down and watch some of the older movies again. They're just so well done,
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Did you grow up on the $1 Million Movie in New York?
I did. Wow, I haven't. Oh my gosh, have you brought back a memory?
Oh.
I forgot all about that. The $1 Million Movie, yes. Wow.
Yeah. It's funny.
I watched all of them.
It's funny, when I was growing up, right, we had local UHF stations, which ultimately they all got bought by corporations like Fox and so forth. But when they were still like local UHF stations, right? They were variations on the $1 Million Movie in New York, and I didn't notice until YouTube because I look at like the animation graphics and I'm like, wow, they are very similar. Yeah, I mean, when you were growing up on the $1 Million Movie, they had trouble getting licensing for movies because they thought that TV was a fad, it was a new medium.
Oh, it's not funny.
They didn't know what was going to happen, so they'd show the same movie over and over again every night. You know?
Yes, yeah, and I remember the theme song and everything. It was, I don't want to sing it on the interview, but it was. I remember the theme song and everything, the jingle to it, and I remember they played this one movie that quite often with Lana Turner called Madam X.
Oh, Lana Turner was a childhood friend of my great aunt.
You're kidding me. Oh, she was a fabulous actress. I mean, she was really, really amazing. There was a movie she did, and I may be getting the title wrong. You Only Knock Twice or something like that.
You Only Live Once?
What is it?
Oh, no, oh, no. You Only Live Once? I think.
No, You Only Knock. It's John Garfield and Lana Turner. It's a murder movie, murder mystery. And Lana Turner is amazing. But with Madam X, she gives the performance of a lifetime. It's a drama. And it's with John Forsythe, and Ricardo Montalban is in it for a very brief time. But Lana Turner gives such an amazing performance. She was such a great actress.
Oh, Nobody Lives Forever.
I'm sorry?
Is it Nobody Lives Forever?
No, I'm sorry, The Postman.
The Postman Always Rings Twice.
That's it. I knew it was something knocks twice or rings twice. That's it. The Postman Always Rings Twice. It is, if you ever want, like, to see, like, a dramatic, like...
I've seen it. I actually like it better than the Jack Nicholson remake.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, it was a very, very good movie, and Lana Turner was very good in it. But, you know, it's a murder one. It's not one where you have to discover the mystery. You know, and I don't want it to ruin it in case anyone's listening. You really you know who does the murder, but you see, are they going to get away with it or not? You know, it's a very dramatic movie. But I think her performance in Madam X was one of the best performances she's ever had. She was phenomenal. It was a heartbreaking movie. My mother and I would sit in the living room. I think my grandmother was with us too. We were all crying at the end of the movie. We were all boo-hooing. It was so heartbreaking, that movie. Heartbreaking, but really well done. But yeah,
Did you like
I'm gonna have to sit down one night and look on Turner Classic Movies and just watch a good old movie.
Did you like James Bond movies?
Love James Bond. Love, love, love. I like Sean Connery the best as James Bond. Who do you like?
Same here. There's a couple gems I like from Roger Moore, like Live and Let Die and The Spy Who Loved Me.
Yeah, I liked Live and Let Die with Roger Moore a lot.
Timothy Dalton in the Living Daylights, I really like. License to Kill, not so much. And then after, I think Pierce Brosnan did his best, but since then, I don't know. I mean, the Bond movies are not fun anymore. I think partially because Mike Myers made fun of them with the Austin Powers movies, that they don't know how to be funny anymore, you know?
Right. Well, I think that, you know, everyone who has done James Bond, you know, they did a good job, but for me, Sean Connery was so stellar in that role that people paled a little bit in comparison to him. Yeah. And even the very, very first James Bond they had, I don't remember the actor's name. I think he was British. But once they got Sean Connery, to me, he was James Bond.
Yeah.
And I just loved him, and I loved a lot of the earlier Bond movies with him.
Thunderball is my favorite.
You know?
Yeah, Thunderball is my favorite, and Dr. No, and I like From Russia with Love and Goldfinger and stuff.
Yeah, they were my favorite ones out of all of them. What do you think about the, what's his name, Craig?
Oh, Daniel Craig. I fell asleep in the movie theater watching one of the ones.
I've only seen one of the ones with Daniel Craig. I think I lost interest a little bit. I mean, I thought it was well done, and I think he's a very good actor. But as I said, to me, Sean Connery, he'll always be James Bond.
Yeah, the comedian Dana Gould made this really funny joke. He says, okay, you know, in Goldfinger, there's that almost borderline rape scene in Goldfinger with the massage parlor.
You know, it's been so many years since I've seen it. It's vaguely familiar to me.
Well, he said that if that was being rebooted today, the scene would happen, but then after he saved the day at the end, the woman would come out of the woodwork and say, "That's him. That's the man in the tuxedo." Because he would be held accountable after saving the day.
Exactly.
Oh my God.
Yeah, that's so funny. But yeah. So.
Do you have any? Did you have any movie crushes growing up?
Definitely, believe it or not, I had a crush on Rock Hudson.
Oh yeah.
I had a crush on Cary Grant.
Same here.
Yeah, I know. Well, Cary Grant, I mean, how gorgeous. And also, I noticed that back in the day, the men were very debonair. I don't see that many debonair men today. Like Laurence Olivier, when he did Rebecca, and when he did Wuthering Heights. He was so debonair and so elegant, and I don't see that as much anymore. If you ever want to see a really good Alfred Hitchcock movie, it's a book. It was a movie made from a book by Daphne du Maurier, and it's an amazing book called Rebecca, Daphne du Maurier, or du Maurier, however you pronounce her last name. Yeah. And Alfred Hitchcock directed it, and Laurence Olivier was so handsome in that movie. I had such a crush on him in that movie, and also in Rebecca, and Cary Grant and Rock Hudson. I had big crushes on them, but I also had a crush on Frankie Avalon. Oh
yes, I love the Beach Party movies, and it's funny.
Yeah, Frankie Avalon.
Annette Funicello, she had a contract. She was under a contract at Disney, and she got loaned out to American International to make the Beach Party movies. But in the contract, she couldn't show her belly button. She couldn't wear a bikini that showed everything.
Oh, that's so funny. Times have changed a lot.
Oh yeah. Yes.
What was your? What did you have, like a celebrity crush back then? Or?
There was Cary Grant, there was Natalie Wood, and
she was beautiful.
So many '80s movie actresses like yourself.
Oh, thank you for that.
Of course, you were a knockout, and you still are.
Oh well, oh gosh, I don't know about that, but thank you. I will say thank you.
Of course.
Yeah, I'm trying to think if I had any other crushes. I think Rock Hudson, I saw him in the Doris Day movies, and he just seemed like so, handsome, and, I don't know. I also had a crush on, there was a TV show called Dr. Kildare.
Yep.
It's funny, a lot of the guys that I had crushes on were gay. I don't know what that says about me.
Richard Chamberlain. Yeah, well, I guess...
Richard Chamberlain was gay. Rock Hudson was gay. Cary Grant was bi, actually. He was bi.
He was roommates and lovers with Randolph Scott.
In fact, in My Favorite Wife, Randolph Scott plays a pretty big role in that movie. And I don't know if that's where they met or they knew each other before that, but he actually lived with Randolph Scott for a long time. But he was also bi. He was also, later on, was in love with Sophia Loren, and she broke his heart by marrying Carlo Ponti.
I saw the documentary about Scotty Bowers. He had a brothel at a gas station in Hollywood in the 40s and 50s, and Cary Grant was a frequent customer, and Katharine Hepburn and lots of big name icons. They were secretly gay because you had to be, in those days.
Oh, yes, you had to be, or you would marry somebody as a cover.
Yeah.
Like Rock Hudson, he could not come out. He did later on, and unfortunately, he passed away. But he definitely was such a sex symbol for women that if he had if it had been known that he was gay, it probably would have ruined his career back in those days. But
exactly.
I sure had a big crush on him, and you know. So yeah, I guess those come to mind. I'm sure there were others as well. I just can't think of it at the moment.
I can't imagine growing up in New York. You probably didn't go to a drive-in until you moved to L.A., right?
No, I actually went to drive-ins in New York because I didn't live in the city. I lived a little bit upstate New York.
Right,
so
right.
We had drive-in movie theaters there up in Rockland County. We weren't that far from New York. I mean, literally, we were 20 minutes from the George Washington Bridge, but we were far enough out of the city to be in a suburb. And in high school, we would go to the drive-in movie, and we would put people in the trunk so that we didn't have to pay all the admissions, and then they'd open the trunk and would come out. We were just, crazy high school kids.
Of course.
The drive-in, I have some really good memories of the drive-in movie.
Oh, yeah. My dad was a teenager in the 70s, right? So he would have to go see a movie 3 times because the first 2 times he was getting laid with his date, and
or making out.
right.
I mean,
and then
one of those things.
And then he'd see the movie alone, and he'd go, "This movie is going to be a masterpiece someday. It's a classic already. It's an instant classic." He did that with Rocky, Animal House, The Groove Tube, which was Chevy Chase and Richard Belzer's first movie. It's a sketch comedy
the Groove
movie.
Tube, yep.
Yeah, it's a dirty sketch comedy movie that's just friggin' great, and I have it too. I got a guest from it coming on too.
I haven't seen that in ages. I can't even, I've seen so many movies, sometimes they blend, but there are movies, though, that stand out, and there's movies that stand the test of time.
Yeah.
And I keep telling my daughter, you've got to see just the classics, like Casablanca, and, just the amazing classic black and white. And she goes, "I will, Mom, I will." And her drama teacher, when she was in high school, said that she has to see this Alfred Hitchcock movie called Shadow of a Doubt.
Oh, yeah.
With Teresa Wright. And I think Hitchcock said it was one of his favorite movies that he directed. But it was on TV the other night, and I recorded it for her, and I have it on my DVR, and I watched it, and it really, I saw it many times when I was younger. It really is a very well-done movie.
I want to see this one Hitchcock movie called Foreign Correspondent. Joel McCrea.
Yeah.
Joel McCrea is the star of it. Joel McCrea was a B-movie, cowboy.
I love Joel McCrea.
Yeah, and I want to see him in something really, really good, so I got to see that movie because I love Hitchcock.
He was very good in that movie. That's a very good movie. I haven't seen Foreign Correspondent in a long time, but I remember really liking that movie, and Joel McCrea is a very good actor.
Yeah,
he was very good in it. Hitchcock also was one of my favorite directors, although I really, really hate what he did to Tippi Hedren.
Yeah.
He completely ruined her career. He blacklisted her. She couldn't work after that because he blacklisted her, all because he made advances towards her, and she did not accept his, sexual advances. And because she wouldn't sleep with him, he ruined her career. And what a shame.
To be fair, I have a friend who's plus size that bet Tippi Hedren, and she got fat shamed by her. So I wouldn't feel too bad for her.
You mean Tippi Hedren?
She fat shamed my friend one time at a meet and greet. It was awful.
Oh, you're kidding me. That's absolutely horrifying.
Yeah, because, I know,
my friend knows Tippi Hedren, not well, but she had this animal rescue place called Shambhala, and it was for big cats, rescuing, lions and tigers and stuff. And my friend would go out there and, donate money for the care of the animals and stuff. And Tippi Hedren was a huge animal lover, and she took care of these. She took wonderful care of these big, cats and, tigers and lions and stuff. And my friend went out there quite often and said that Tippi was so like kind to animals and so nice and lovely. I'm very disappointed to hear that.
Oh yeah,
about what you just told me.
There are animal rights people who are way overzealous and they get way too emotional. Like Chrissy Hind is that kind of person. Linda Blair definitely is. I met her, and like the security people at the convention like were questioning what our motive was for meeting her and stuff. I was just like, cause we're fans of her work, and stuff. It gave me a really bad vibe, but it happens.
What do you mean they didn't want? Well, you were going to see her because of her being an actress, right?
Yeah. It's at a convention to meet her. She's signing autographs, and they wanted to know what our motivation was because here I am, this big guy. I look like a meat eater, and it's also a vegan
I'm sorry,
cause.
I wasn't getting the correlation. Yeah. Oh yes, yes, I understand what you're saying. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, oh wow. Well, maybe they've gotten like threats against them. Do you think maybe?
Probably, but
they might have had like threats against them and stuff, because it's really funny. A lot of times, like if you I've met people that, and I'm not like I'm not like over the top person. I'm a pretty easygoing person.
Oh yeah.
But like if you tell someone, oh, I'm a vegetarian, and like, well, why don't you eat meat? And they start challenging you, and you're like, well, look, I don't judge anybody for whatever path they're on. I grew up eating meat, and this is just the choice that I'm making, because to me they all seem like pets. I just love animals, and I just don't. But that's just a personal choice. I'm not judging anybody. But I've had so many people challenge me. Well, and they come against me, and I'm like, they're like attacking me, and I'm like, oh my gosh, like I'm not putting you down, like at all. Like I've had the opposite happen to me, like where I have nothing against anybody who, I've dated many, many men who are meat eaters, and if we go out to a restaurant and they order steak, I might order like pasta with marinara sauce, and there's not a problem. But I've had people come against me because of being a vegetarian and stuff, and I was like, wow. Like I just say to them, well, look, why don't you stay in your own lane and I'll stay in mine, and everyone will be happy.
Exactly. That's what they need to be. I just don't understand them whatsoever. And a lot of the time it's just for image purposes because they have nothing else, especially if they're difficult to work with and they have that reputation.
Yeah, I don't know. Was Linda Blair difficult? I'm not sure.
Yeah, she was not very nice. I'll just leave it at that.
Yeah.
But getting into television, though, like what sitcoms did you watch growing up?
Oh my gosh. Well, I was really back in the day, so I watched, The Flying Nun, and I watched, when I was really little, I watched Bewitched and I Dream of Jeannie. Yep. Well, when I was really, really little, I saw like reruns of Leave It to Beaver and stuff like that. But growing up, I watched I Dream of Jeannie. We watched, Bewitched, and the Sally Field Gidget. I watched that a lot. The Flying Nun. Trying to think of some other ones that were on at that time.
Yeah,
the big one.
There was F Troop, Green Acres.
Oh yes, I did watch F Troop a little bit. Green Acres, I did watch. I really liked Green Acres. I remember, the cartoons I loved were the Jetsons and the Flintstones, and I watched all of the Bugs Bunny and all of those.
Same here.
Yeah, love them.
Yeah, it's funny. McHale's Navy was never in syndication when I was a kid, and I just found out why. Because, I don't know, apparently, even by post-60s standards, they thought that the jokes towards the Japanese were very racist. And I find that ironic. I find that ironic because I did grow up on Hogan's Heroes, and that was a very anti-Semitic show, and they were all Jewish on that show. And it was very...
I watched that too, Hogan's Heroes.
It was very...
McHale's Navy I watched a little bit, not often, but
yeah.
Hogan's Heroes, actually, boy, you're bringing back a lot of things that I haven't thought about in years. Hogan's Heroes I watched a lot. I really liked it.
It's very politically incorrect, and so, like, I don't know, how to respond to that because, Hogan's Heroes was just as bad as McHale's Navy in terms of that kind of content,
Yeah, I know they would say a lot of things, and I watch reruns now of The Golden Girls, which is a really well written show.
Yeah.
And sometimes Estelle Getty, who plays Sophia on it, the mother, she'll say some things that are really politically incorrect, but I can't help it. I'm laughing my head off. It's really, but I think that they still play it because she's one of those outrageous characters that says things that are just completely off the wall and politically incorrect.
She was my Nana, I'll tell you. My Nana looked exactly like her, and she said whatever was on her mind.
Yeah, that's how this character is, and it is really funny. In fact, the show is so well written, The Golden Girls.
Yeah.
It's fantastic. But I also remember watching, like, my parents used to watch Perry Mason.
Oh, yeah.
And we used to watch Perry Mason a lot, and Dr. Kildare, and those were more of the dramatic shows that we watched.
Ben Casey.
We watched Julia, too, with Diane Carroll.
Yeah, remember Ben Casey?
And we watched Ben Casey, but I was really into Dr. Kildare because, of course, I had a crush on Richard Chamberlain. So
yes,
it's so funny. So those were the shows.
How about Batman?
Loved Batman. I loved Batman, and I also watched a soap opera called Dark Shadows.
Oh, yes. I have interviewed so many horror movie actors that grew up in the 60s, and they told me that was their first, like, reference for horror was Dark Shadows. And I've interviewed Catherine Lee Scott and Sharon Smythe, the little girl that was on in, I think, the first or second season.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Oh, my gosh. I had to come home from school, and my friends and I all watched Dark Shadows, and we were obsessed with Dark Shadows. So that was one of my favorites. I guess that really got me into the supernatural kind of films. Probably that's why I like Twilight.
Yeah.
The Twilight movies.
How about the Twilight Zone?
With what?
How about the Twilight Zone?
That was very, very big too in when I was growing up, the Twilight Zone.
Yeah.
And Alfred Hitchcock Presents, but even though Alfred Hitchcock was one of my favorite directors, Alfred Hitchcock Presents was very scary, and I didn't like it. They had too many things that were too creepy, and also the Twilight Zone was pretty scary for me as well as a child. They were too scary for me. They were very well done, but too scary. But yeah, you're really bringing back a lot of memories.
Did you watch the Monkees?
Wow. I'm sorry?
Did you watch the Monkees? The Monkees.
Monkees. Oh, my gosh. They were also one of my absolute favorites. The Monkees, the Addams Family, and the Munsters were also three of my favorites. Especially, I loved Wednesday Addams, and I was a fan of Wednesday before
I met her.
Wednesday stuff going on now with,
the Netflix series.
Jenna Ortega.
Yeah, I haven't seen it yet.
Jenna Ortega is very good, by the way. She's very good.
Yeah, I met Lisa Loring before she died. It's you could tell being a child actress affected her. You could just tell it was sad. But that's so sad that she passed away, number one, and she was really good as the original Wednesday. Yeah, she was. I just loved her macabre, dry delivery. It was just perfect,
Oh, wow. Well, I think that probably my favorite Wednesday is Christina Ricci.
Oh, yes.
In the Addams Family movies. Her portrayal of Wednesday Addams is my absolute favorite.
Yeah. Oh my God. Just I like it. What's the name? What's the name of this game? She says, "Is there a God?"
Yeah, she says in the movie, she was so funny. She goes to summer camp, and this little girl, comes and with her mother and father, and she's this little blonde, waspy-looking little girl with her parents, and Morticia's there with Wednesday and Pugsley, and she goes, "Why are you dressed like that?" She goes, "Like what?" She goes, "Like somebody went to you're going to a funeral, like somebody died." And she looks at the little girl and she goes, "Wait."
Yes. Yes.
Somebody, it's just so classic. The lines in that movie. I think that was Adam Family Values.
Adam's Family Values. And yeah, that bully little girl, she's also the Girl Scout in the first one when she says, "Are they made from real Girl Scouts?"
That's right. You know what? I'm glad that you noticed that as well.
Yeah.
I noticed the same thing. I went, that's the girl that's in Adam's Family Values. I said, oh, they used her again.
Yeah.
But she was good in her part. She was perfect.
I've tried to reach out to get her on here and stuff. Hopefully I'll get to. But yeah, I mean, in the Monkees, Davey was my favorite. I had a crush on him.
I liked Davy Jones as well. But, Mickey Dolenz was so funny.
Yes.
As well. I got to hang out with his daughter Amy one night. We all went to the Hollywood Bowl. I don't know. I think we were going to see somebody at the Hollywood Bowl.
I'm trying to get Amy, too, on. I loved her and She's Out of Control, movie she made with Tony Danza. Amy Dolenz, yeah, she played Tony Danza's daughter in a movie called She's Out of Control. Where
I didn't see her in that, but she was so nice, Amy Dolenz. So I just hung out with her that one night, and we walked from my place where I lived underneath the Hollywood Hills, near the Hollywood sign, and I had a little bungalow that I was renting, and I lived very close to the Hollywood Bowl. So my friends came over, and they all parked their car at my house because the Hollywood Bowl parking is insane. And then we just walked over to the bowl, and Amy was with us, and she was a doll. I mean, really down to earth and a sweetheart.
Love it.
And I wanted to say, I think I actually did tell her that I had a crush on her dad.
I interviewed her aunt, Mickey's sister, Coco. I interviewed her. It was the last night of the Monkees farewell tour, a couple weeks before Michael Nesmith died. And we talked in the hotel. We talked. She called me from her hotel room. We talked 35 minutes before showtime, and she was wonderful. And I got to see the Monkees when I was 14. They were at Candlestick Park in San Francisco, and they did a concert before a Giants game, and they drove off the field in a Cadillac with the top down.
Oh, I love it. Oh, is Peter Tork still alive?
No, it's just Mickey. He's the only one left.
Because I also had a little bit of a crush on Peter because I liked his hair.
I used to.
And he seemed so sweet. He seemed so sweet.
I used to hear that he was really nice to the girls at meet and greets, but with the guys, he was a real jerk.
Oh, really? That's very interesting.
Yeah.
I had a little bit of a crush on him, but I thought Mickey Dolenz had such a good personality.
Yeah. I mean,
he was funny, but Davy was, I think, the cutest.
Yeah. He was just adorable, and he was a bad boy too. He had a place up in San Francisco, and my mom, who worked for the cable company, she had one of her guys go out to his house one time to fix something, and Davey was alone, naked, with all these girls having an orgy there.
Oh, so he was a wild one.
Yeah, he was.
Well, I guess he took advantage of his fame and his popularity.
Yeah.
But he definitely had that, what I call the it factor. When somebody just has it, they have that sex appeal. Marilyn Monroe had it. There's just certain people, they just have it, But I think that, the Monkees were really actually very talented. They weren't taken that seriously, but I thought they were really good. And I gave my original Monkee albums away to my cousin because he wanted it.
Yeah.
And I felt so bad because he was a kid and he was having open heart surgery, and he goes, I love the Monkees. And I said, okay, you can have it. And I would have had it till this day.
Wow.
Because I've kept all my albums from back in the day. Mm-hmm. I'm sure they're all warped because they're in my garage, but I still have all the jacket covers and everything. And I gave away my original Monkees album. I always regret it. I always regret giving it away. But
I'm sure you remember the Beatles on Ed Sullivan.
Oh, I saw them. I saw their debut. I was 8 years old, and I saw them on Ed Sullivan, and I will never forget it. And I was in love with Paul and Ringo. Mm-hmm. What about you? Did you like the Beatles?
Oh, yes. We're huge Beatles fans in my family. My dad got me into them from day one, and my mom got to see them when she was 10. in 1964, they had the Beatles play at the Cow Palace in San Francisco, and my great aunt, the one who was friends with Lana Turner, she was the head of craft services at the Hilton in San Francisco, so she had connections. So she got my mom backstage at that concert, and she got their autographs. Back then, nobody really had cameras, so they weren't taking pictures. She wished she had gotten a picture with them because my uncle accidentally threw out her autographs, and to this day, she will not forgive him.
Oh, wow. Oh, my gosh. Can you imagine? They'd be worth a lot.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Holy mackerel. Yeah, the Beatles to me were one of the best bands that ever were, they're amazing.
Here's a
and
good...
they went through so much. They morphed, as the times were changing. Their music changed with the times and revolutionized music. They were the most amazing band.
Yeah. Oh, here's a great story. So the husband and wife comedy team that went on afterwards, Mitzi McCall and Charlie Brill, I had them on here a couple years ago. Mitzi died this summer, sadly.
Oh, I'm so sorry to hear that.
But there's a funny story. So before the show, John Lennon saw them backstage at the Coca-Cola machine, and so he knocked on their door a few moments later and said, "Excuse me, I need a Coke for Ringo." Now, they didn't know who Ringo was at that time, because all they knew is that the Beatles were these four guys from Liverpool that were driving the kids crazy. That's all they knew about the Beatles, right? So,
oh, that's funny.
So Mitzi said, "A Coke for Ringo? What's that, a Jewish holiday we don't know about?"
Oh, that is hilarious.
Yeah.
I actually had just like the biggest crush on Ringo because he reminded me of this like shaggy puppy dog, and he seemed he had like this, although they were very young at the time, but he seemed like a kid. I can't explain it. He just seemed young. I really liked him so much. He actually still looks very good. Have you seen him?
Oh, yeah. In fact, my nephew went to go see him in concert last year, and he did like all the Beatles songs that he sang, and even a couple of George and John songs just as tribute. And he did all of his, it's his all-star band. So he had Edgar Winter there, and they did Frankenstein. He had Steve Lukather from Toto. They did Rosanna. It was just a great show. I saw the set list later on.
Wow, it sounds like it would be a really good show. Plus, I love Toto.
Yeah.
And I love that song, Rosanna. It's one of my favorites.
Do you remember the first album you ever bought with your own money?
I don't. This is the thing. I'm the youngest of four.
Mm-hmm.
And so my sisters and my brother just always gave me all their albums, and I loved the music they loved. But I think the first record I bought that was a 45, it was a little record, and I had a little record player in my room, was Spanky and Our Gang.
Yes.
And they sang Sunday Will Never Be the Same.
I just want to get to know you. Yes, I do. I love that song.
What? Which one was it?
I just want to get to know you. Yes, I do. I love that song.
Was that Spanky and Our Gang too?
That was the follow-up hit, I believe.
Oh, okay, because I don't really know what they did. I remember that song that you were singing. I remember that. But I don't know if it was on the flip side of the record. A lot of them had flip sides.
Yeah.
But I'll never forget Sunday Will Never Be the Same by Spanky and Our Gang. And I bought that. It was just a little tiny 45. It wasn't an album. But I do remember playing Frankie Avalon singing Venus.
Yes.
And I don't know if I bought that or it was handed down from my sister. But my sister liked more of the hippie music. She had, Crosby, Stills and Nash and Jimi Hendrix. And she liked, the Doors. And so I would play over and over again Jim Morrison's album. And I love that song, Light My Fire and Touch Me, Babe. And I
love all the Doors stuff. That first album, that's 1966, 67 in LA in a nutshell. It's so decadent and raw and haunting. It's just every song is a winner. Even my least favorite one, End of the Night, even that one is good.
Yeah, break on through to the other side, and the
Soul Kitchen.
I was so in love with Jim Morrison. I had such a mad crush on him.
We had vinyl records when I was a kid. My parents had all their vinyl records left over. Everything from the Beatles to the Stones to Carole King's Tapestry, which is the best pop record ever.
I actually have that album in my.
Mm-hmm.
It's fantastic, and I have it in my garage. Unfortunately, like I said, they're all warped because I had them in my garage in a big plastic bin. But the southern summers here get very, very hot, and I'm sure they don't. I'm sure they're warped. I need to find it. I can't find it. There's boxes on top of boxes out there in my garage, and I need to clean everything out and find those records because
there's nothing like that stinky, musky smell of vinyl. It's so intoxicating.
Well, I have original Beatles albums, and I have some really great original albums that probably are ruined, which is just such a shame. But if I can find them, when the weather gets a little bit cooler, I had already made a decision to go out into the garage and start, getting rid of things, cleaning things out. And I told my daughter, I said, we need to find those albums because recently she got one of those retro record players.
Yep.
And she goes, Mom, we got to get, I literally have Chubby Checker do the twist.
I have a 45 that my dad has had it for almost 60 years. Chuck Berry's Johnny B. Good and Around and Around, and it's all scratched up. It'll never be able to play again, but at least it's a collector's item.
I'm sure that I have. But I do you still have a lot of your parents' albums?
No, they're long gone. I do have some record albums I bought at thrift stores over the years on vinyl. Like I have Scorpions, Blackout. I have a Wham album and a Culture Club album, and those ones I didn't buy.
Wow.
I didn't buy those at a thrift store. I actually saw them on a sidewalk, abandoned, and I just took them.
Oh my God! I can't believe they were abandoned.
Yeah.
I just all of those, Culture Club and Wham, and just all of those albums were just amazing. And the '80s music I loved all the '80s music. Love it.
Yeah. What was your?
'80s was my era. I would have to say.
Mm-hmm.
I had the most fun in the '80s in Los Angeles, going to all the clubs, and all the music was just so great. So fun.
What was the first concert you ever went to?
My very first concert was the Moody Blues at Madison Square Garden.
I've always wanted to go see them. I never got the chance.
They had, I have their original album, which I said I'm sure is ruined, and they had all those songs, like Nights in White Satin and Tuesday Afternoon, and just
Ride by Seesaw.
I remember the Madison Square Garden was huge in New York, and my sister and my cousin, and they all took me, and I think I was like 15, 15, and I went to see the Moody Blues. I can't believe it. A lot of people don't know who they are, but I loved them.
Yeah, I love them too. I had three first concerts because the first two were in weird venues. The Monkees at Candlestick Park. I saw Steppenwolf at the county fair. John Kay was the only original member, but it didn't matter. He's very funny and very charismatic.
Wow. Alice
Cooper was my first, straight up legit concert. My uncle bought the expensive tickets, and we went with my dad, and it was great.
Would you consider that your very first, what would be your very first concert?
The
Monkees?
I think technically the Monkees, but in terms of buying tickets and going, it's definitely Alice Cooper.
Alice Cooper, right? So yeah, getting the tickets and going, and your first legit.
I mean, my dad or my uncle bought tickets for the Monkees because it was a Giants game, but the purpose was to see the Giants play. But we did incidentally see the Monkees play. So.
Right. So it wasn't like the first ticket you were buying to see a concert. So you got to see the Monkees, but your first concert that you bought tickets to and would be Alice Cooper.
Right, and I've seen so many.
That's something else.
I've seen so many great concerts since too.
Yeah, I got to see some really good people play as well. It's amazing. I would say I was very fortunate. I got to see Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers because I was friendly with the keyboard player, Ben Montench.
Yeah.
I used to do his hair when I was working at the hair salon, and he invited me and the owner of the salon to come see him play for free. So we got to go see Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers for free. They were fantastic. I've seen Bon Jovi. I've gotten to see a lot of really great people. Linda Ronstadt. Oh my gosh, what a voice. I saw her in Las Vegas.
Yeah.
She sounded just as good live as she did on her albums. That's how good of a singer that Linda Ronstadt was.
Yeah.
I'll tell you who surprised me. I went to go see this at the Hollywood Bowl. They had this show for the 4th of July, and they were playing, John Philip Sousa and all this, patriotic stuff. But Trisha Yearwood was singing there. I was so impressed with Trisha Yearwood's voice. She sounds so amazing live, and I didn't know, I knew who she was, but I didn't know that much about her. After that, I was like, wow, can Trisha Yearwood really sing? At that time, I wasn't as much into country music,
right?
But I was very impressed by her voice.
Nice.
And I got to see Bonnie Raitt, who's actually one of my singers. I went to this big Hollywood party on one of the sound stages, and they got Bonnie Raitt to perform, and I didn't know that Bonnie Raitt was going to be performing there. And people were, drinking and eating and talking while Bonnie Raitt was singing, and I wanted to get on a microphone and go, please, everyone, stop talking. Bonnie Raitt is singing. Don't you understand? She's like one of the most amazing singers.
Yeah.
How could you be so rude and be talking and eating and laughing while she's singing? They just had her as the background band. I'm thinking, what?
Yeah.
Bonnie Raitt is phenomenal, so I got to see Bonnie Raitt.
That woman can rock.
Yes.
Do you remember your first makeout song?
Oh, wow.
Mine was Janet Jackson's Love Will Never Do Without You.
It's really interesting. I think that, when I was that age group, it was the Jackson 5 and that song, I'll Be There, and, that song, I'll Be There?
Oh, yeah.
Such a fabulous song. But I remember going to they were like teenage parties, preteen teenage parties, and I don't remember what music was playing. There may not have been any music playing, but we would play back in those days, Spin the Bottle. I was like 12.
Oh, yeah, we all played that.
I don't remember any music playing, but I remember going to a teenage party, and the songs that were playing back in those days was the ABC, the Jackson 5.
Yeah.
I'll Be There, which was one of my favorites, I'll Be There.
Yeah.
Oh, it took me back. But I can't remember. I think because our makeout sessions were outside.
Yeah.
Outside in the backyard, and someone's camping tent in their backyard, or at the drive-in theater, we'd make out in the back seat, or there were not many places to go. So, but I remember those were the songs that were playing at the party for the Jackson 5.
How about comedy records? Did you have any comedy records?
No, but my boyfriend's mother used to listen to Pat Cooper.
Oh, yes.
And loved him, and I would come into their house, and she'd be laughing her head off at Pat Cooper. I'm trying to think if my mother did have any comedy albums that we would listen to in the house. Not that I can remember, but I know my roommate, Linda, would listen to, it was Dudley Moore and this other English actor, and they were really dirty. They were really dirty, but
oh, yeah.
It was Dudley Moore's partner at the time, not physical partner, but comedy partner.
Peter Cook, yeah, him and Peter Cook were so funny.
That was it, Peter Cook.
Yeah.
Peter Cook. Oh, I can't believe you remember. So it was Dudley Moore and Peter Cook.
Derek
and my friend Linda would be laughing hysterically for them.
Yeah, Derek and Clive. Oh, yeah, I remember Peter Cook saying, and I'll kick her in the cunt, and stuff like that.
Yeah, they were really dirty.
Yeah.
Like, I couldn't believe they would say that. But, like, with Pat Cooper, his real name was, like, I think Pasquale Caputo or something.
He was Italian.
My boyfriend was Italian, and his family was all Italian. So they loved all that humor, being directed towards their culture,
Yeah.
I mean, I'm part Italian too, but I mean, they were really Italian.
I know, we're both quarter Italian.
Yeah, I'm a mutt. I'm an American European blend,
Yeah, we had Lily Tomlin's This Is a Recording.
Lily Tomlin, yes. Oh, she was very, very funny.
Very funny, yeah. And Cheech and Chong's Big Bamboo. And we had a Richard Pryor album, but the cover was missing, just the inner jacket we had. I can't remember which album it was, though.
I think my sister had the Cheech and Chong one.
Yeah, it had like a rolling paper inside that you could smoke.
I think my sister may have had the Cheech and Chong one. Unfortunately, she passed away a few years ago. I can't ask her. I wish she was still here. I could ask her. She lived with my daughter and I, me and my daughter.
Yeah.
So, but she was a big influence on me with music. My sister.
Yeah, that's so wonderful. Here's a fun question. Do you remember how old you were when you discovered your belly button?
No. Probably very, very little. My parents probably would have said, "That's your belly button." I was probably maybe 2 or something.
Mm-hmm.
I think probably very, very little. I was the youngest, so when you're like the youngest of 4 kids,
mm-hmm.
You learn things early about everything, because what you don't learn from your parents, you learn from your siblings.
Same here. I'm the youngest. My mom had 4 miscarriages between me and my brother, right, in those 10 years.
That's so sad.
So I learned a lot of stuff early that I shouldn't have. I mean, I saw my first naked girl on TV when I was 3.5.
Wow.
I learned a lot of stuff early. But like I remember being 6 and like discovering my belly button and becoming interested in it because I had a girlfriend that I hung out with that had a really cute outie belly button, and I was curious from that, but I'm sure it started earlier than that, but I just don't remember,
Do you have an innie or an outie?
I have an innie. At that time it was a little bit of an outie, but it kind of went in when I went through puberty.
I have an innie. I've always had an innie. Isn't that funny?
I know, I've seen it.
Oh, yes, that's right. That's right, I have an innie. But I guess it's just the way the umbilical cord was cut and fell off when you were born.
Yes.
That's
And
what makes it an innie or an outie, how the umbilical cord dries up and then falls off.
Yeah.
Which is, I always wondered about that. Like with my daughter, they when they come home from the hospital, the umbilical cord is still, it has to like the little part of it has to fall off. And you always wonder, are they going to have an innie or an outie?
Is she an innie too?
She has an innie, yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it just depends, though. It just depends how it falls off. It's just the luck of the draw, so to speak.
Does she want
not that one's better than the other.
Yeah. Does she want to pierce it? A lot of the younger generations of kids do.
It's very funny. She actually wanted pierced ears when she was really little.
Uh-huh.
So when she was like 7, I got her ears pierced. And then she didn't want to wear earrings anymore, and she let the holes close up. And then recently she said to me, "Mom, I think I want to get my ears like re-pierced,
Mm-hmm.
And I said, well, let's make an appointment at the piercing place, and we'll go when it's open. And I just asked her literally the other day, I'm like, have you decided, do you want to re-pierce your ears? And she goes, yeah, I think I do, but she's not one to want to get piercings. It's really interesting. Like, my nose is pierced. I have a little diamond stud in it.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, it's cubic zirconium, but don't tell anyone.
Okay.
I have a little cubic zirconium stud in my nose. It's a little stud. It's cute. And I was always one to be more interested in that. She's not really interested in getting tattoos or piercings or anything.
Oh, that's good.
I wish she would get her ears pierced because she has some really cute earrings that I had bought her, and now they're just going to waste.
Yeah.
What about you? Do you have any piercing?
I don't have any, no. I used to have a fake belly button ring that I used to wear in public, and I stopped wearing it after a while because it pinched my skin, and so like my belly button got all red and it looked like it was infected, so I stopped using it after a while.
Well, actually, one of my ex-boyfriends years ago was a body piercer, and I was interested many years ago in getting my belly button pierced, and he said, don't do it. And this is many, many years ago.
Yeah.
And I said, why? I love the way it looks. He goes, it does look good. He said, but don't do it. He said, because they, like, 8 out of 10 get infected, and you have to constantly be cleaning it, and you have to really take care of it. And he said, it's really, they really get infected. It's not a good thing. So I didn't get it done on his recommendation. I'm kind of glad I didn't now because I just don't want because then if it's infected, your pants are going to cut into it, or you know what I mean? So it's just probably not the thing to do. Although I know a lot of people that have it and love it.
Yeah, I don't see it that often anymore, but it was pretty big back in the 90s, I remember.
Very, very, very popular. Very popular. So I wanted it, but no. Oh well, next lifetime, I suppose. I just feel like at this point in my life, I don't want it. Although I think you can do anything at any age if you want.
Oh yes, absolutely.
I know my sister's friend on her 60th birthday got a tattoo on her ankle of like a little bird, like flying, looked like a little kind of hummingbird flying on her ankle. She said she always wanted one. And she goes, do you think I'm too old? And this was years ago. And I said, no. I said, you're not too old. I said, if you want it, get it. You always wanted it. And why not? So She did on her 60th birthday. Got a tattoo. So I don't have any tattoos.
Me neither.
I just have my ears pierced and my nose pierced, and that's it.
So,
that's all I've got.
So tell me about.
Anyway.
So tell me about this Grease reunion you're doing on Zoom later.
Yeah, I have that tonight. Well, not tonight actually, in a couple hours. I gotta finish. It doesn't sound very glamorous, but I have to finish cleaning because I work tomorrow and I work from home. So I want to make the house nice and tidy. I've got to finish cleaning up and then exercise and then put on some makeup because it's not an audio, it's a video, it's a Zoom. So I want to look nice. I haven't seen my Grease friends in a long time. I haven't gone to the last several just because of circumstances in my life. I didn't go to the last one because my dog was very, very sick, and then she died a few days later. So I was just too broken up about it, and I didn't feel very social. So I haven't seen my Grease friends in a while.
Yeah. Is Lisa going to be there, and Karen Richmond and all of them?
Yeah, I never know who's going to show up. So, and Karen's a doll. I love her, and I love Lisa. I never know because there's so many ex-greasers that you never know who's going to show up at the Zoom gatherings. Mary Lou Henner sometimes shows up, Karen Richmond, Lisa, Adrian Zmed. I've seen so many of the ex-greasers at the parties. Sometimes you have a big gathering, sometimes a smaller one. I've seen Grease people on there that I hadn't met in real life, that it was really kind of cool to see them at the gathering. I was like, oh, wow, that's the original Frenchie, or, it's a lot of fun. And the greaser who got it together and puts these Zoom gatherings played Cha-Cha, Sherry Seth.
Yeah.
And I was on tour with her, and she was just she's such a wonderful person, a lovely person, and she's the one that organized these Grease Zoom gatherings, and they usually have them every couple months.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm definitely due to go to this one, so I figured I would,
Yeah.
look good, put on a little makeup, put on something cute, It's a party kind of, but it's virtual.
Is it going to be on YouTube later or Facebook Live or anything?
No, it's just like a private. It's actually a private group that we have on Facebook.
Okay.
And it's just this, it's only for, you have to be invited, and it's only for people that either did Grease as an actor, or they were a musician, one of our musicians in the pit, or they did costumes, or like anyone that was involved with Grease in some capacity, whether you did the movies or the Broadway shows or the national tours, you have to be somehow affiliated with Grease. Nice. And then you get invited, and so it's a very kind of a private thing, but it's really nice. I really enjoy it.
That is wonderful. That is so wonderful.
Yeah.
That you're all getting.
It's amazing how many people you know. It's truly amazing. You know so many people, and you know so many people that I know.
I know. Yeah, please give Lisa and Karen my love because I just adore them so much. Yeah, Lisa and I did a nerd out.
Lisa Raggio you're talking about, right?
Yeah, we did a nerd out earlier this year, and oh my God, she was just making me laugh, and she's just such a good person. And Karen, she has days where she's high, she has days where she's low. We haven't come to do a nerd out yet, but hopefully it's going to happen.
She's such a sweetheart. I mean, she did the remake of Gidget.
Oh yes, I loved her on Gidget, and she's actually my favorite one. I hate to say it, but like I think she was the best one.
Yeah, she's really good. She's really, really good, and she was always so cute. She actually was my understudy on tour.
Yeah.
I think I told you that last time when we were in San Francisco and Vegas, and she's just such a sweet girl. She's such a lovely person and just such a kind person and very warm. I always really liked Karen, and Lisa too. Lisa's such a cool girl, really cool.
Yes, and just like you, they're not easily offended. Like I could do locker room talk with them, and it's so much fun.
Well, I think that like Lisa and Karen and I, we're all, I think, I guess I'll speak for all of us. I think we're all pretty easygoing people,
Yeah.
We're not very judgmental, and we're, I would say, just knowing them, they're more easygoing and sort of happy, not happy-go-lucky, but sort of, I always felt that I was a positive person.
Yeah, you are.
Although lately, with the world the way it is, sometimes I get a little down because of how there's so much hate in the world, and it makes me really sad. Mm-hmm. But, I mean, other than that, I try to have a positive outlook, and I think Karen and Lisa are the same.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm so happy, though, we got a chance to catch up. You really have such amazing questions, Tommy.
Oh.
I mean, the questions that you asked really brought back so many great memories. Like, I haven't thought of the $1 Million Movie in years, or like what TV shows that I watched, or, you really asked such amazing questions. It was really a lot of fun.
Yeah, because that's what I'm interested in. I just have so much respect for the past, and when I know I'm talking to somebody who grew up at that time, I got to bring up the $1 Million Movie because it was so much a part of people's lives back then, especially in the East Coast. Not so much in the West Coast or any other places, but like East Coast, got to bring up the $1 Million Movie.
That's what we watched, and I watched it constantly. I can't believe you brought up such a great memory, because that's where I got to see a lot of the older movies, too.
Absolutely. Oh, real quick, last Thanksgiving time when you and I were talking, I brought up that me and my friend and her boyfriend were going to have a threesome.
Oh my goodness, that's right. Oh my gosh. Yes,
Yeah.
that's right.
Yeah, so it was fantastic. I got two really fucked up knees, from my car crash, right? So we were just laying on the bed, there was lots of oral and heavy petting going on, and it was fantastic.
I'm glad that you enjoyed yourself. I know that you were feeling, I think, maybe you mentioned, I could be mistaken, you were feeling like sort of self-conscious about everything you've been through, and you were
Very.
maybe a little tentative, but I'm glad everything turned out well for you.
Yes, it did. It was fantastic.
Are you still in touch with them?
Of course, she's had a couple surgeries this summer, and I don't know if I'll be seeing them again anytime soon because she's in a recovery process. But yeah, we just
Well,
went.
I hope she's okay.
She is. We just went full shebang Thanksgiving weekend. It was just marvelous.
Oh, wow. And do they live in the area, or they flew in, or?
They flew in. I won't say from where, but
Oh, no, of course not. Of course you want to keep people's anonymity and privacy, and I totally understand. But well, I'm glad that you've kept in touch with them, and I'm glad that it was a good experience for you, because you just sometimes the apprehension of something is you get like a little nervous, like what's the unknown, but I'm glad everything turned out well.
Well, I was so wild in my 20s, it just, I'd been rusty for a while, but then, once I was in it, it all came back to me. And
It's like, I guess it's like riding a bicycle. Like, I haven't dated in years. I just was in, raising my child, and, I haven't dated in so many years. I'm thinking, oh my gosh, like, I don't, I don't know, do I remember how to kiss,
yeah.
But I think now that my daughter's older, I think about maybe wanting to meet someone, but I wouldn't even know how to go about it.
Really?
I don't really go out. I'm very much of a homebody, as you know. I love reading, and I'm an avid reader, so I read constantly. I always have at least 2 books that I'm reading. I'm never without a book. And I also, when I'm not reading, I love, film and TV, and, I stream things on Hulu and Netflix and all the different streaming services. But I'm such a homebody that I don't go anywhere to meet anyone, and I'm not proficient on the computer. I don't think I would be very good at any of those dating services. So I always say, well, if I meet somebody organically out and about while I'm at the grocery store, while I'm out doing errands, and maybe then it'll be meant to be, but I don't really, I don't know what the word is. I'm not really being proactive about meeting anyone. Also probably because it's been so many years since I have dated that maybe I don't feel confident like I used to. I don't know.
No,
I don't
but
know.
you still look great. I think you should give the apps a try, even though I personally wouldn't do them. But at least maybe go to your local church or library, and just go for the purpose.
Because I am
Yeah.
so much into reading. Maybe somebody also that has the same common interest as me. People that do like the old movies and love reading. And I'm kind of like, I know it sounds crazy, but I'm kind of a little bit of a nerd, because I love Jeopardy, and I love, I watch Jeopardy, and I love doing crossword puzzles and reading. I am kind of a little bit, in my own way, sort of a nerd, so I kind of wouldn't mind meeting somebody that has common interests, and, I suppose you're right. I suppose I had stopped going to church during the pandemic because I didn't want to be in, crowded areas.
Right.
And then my daughter and I just never went back to church. But, I still have the faith, and I probably should maybe join a church again or something, because I bet you there's people in my age group that are widowed or divorced, right?
Right. Oh, absolutely. You'll meet somebody, especially at this point, I mean, it's not like it's going to be like, being a teenager and you're like, inexperienced or anything. You got plenty
Oh,
of
right. No, I've
experience.
had many. But the thing is, too, I always think, well, if I meet like a really nice man at church, he's probably, not going to like some of the movies I've done, the the parts that I've played, and I'm thinking, oh brother, I've got to bring that up. But then again, I say to myself, well, if somebody doesn't like me for who I am, and they're judging me for things I've done, they're probably not for me anyway.
Exactly.
Because everybody wants someone to accept them, all of them, for all their faults and things they've done in the past. And if somebody doesn't accept you, well, then they're not the right person.
Exactly. It's like, it's like a phone, okay, this phone is out of order. I'm going to try another one,
Yeah. Oh, that's so funny. But that's a really good analogy.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, if it's out of order, well, hey, what? Or like a bus, if you miss this bus, well, there's going to be another one coming within 10 minutes, right?
Yeah. Exactly.
But yeah, well, I'll let you know the next time we talk. Maybe I will have gotten back into dating again and meeting people, and
Yes.
like I said, I'm not going to be proactive, but if I just meet somebody while I'm out and about, I actually, this man did ask me for my phone number last weekend when I was grocery shopping.
There you go.
Well, he actually didn't remember, but when my daughter was a little girl,
Mm-hmm.
I had met him. It's a small town, by the way.
Yeah.
I had met him. He didn't remember me. It had been years. And he came up to me again, so I guess obviously I'm his type, but he didn't remember me.
Yeah.
I said, I met you. I met you years ago when my daughter was little. He goes, really? But I had heard from a friend of mine. She knew who he was. She goes, oh, he's a player. She goes, do not get involved with him. He is a player. He hits on anyone he finds attractive. I said, oh. So that's why I never went out with him years ago.
Yeah.
And then it was so funny. I came home and told my daughter, I said, this man just asked me out. And she goes, oh, Mom, that's great. I said, no. I said, he asked me out when you were really little. And I said, he's the one that my client told me was a player. I said, so I'm sure he's still a player because I don't know. But isn't that funny?
It is.
So funny. But I guess I said to myself, well, I must look halfway decent if somebody still is handing me their card. So I thought, okay, I can't look that bad. So, but anyway, maybe the next time we talk, maybe I'll have some fun news to tell you.
Absolutely. Here's a couple jokes for you. The difference between tofu and a dildo?
I can't say that I do.
They are meat substitutes.
No!
What kind of meat does a priest eat on Friday?
I don't know.
None.
Oh, no. Oh, I hope none of my Catholic relatives I hope none of my Catholic relatives are listening in. Oh, my gosh. Oh, my gosh. You know a lot of jokes. I don't know any jokes.
Yeah, I know.
I never remember jokes. I'm terrible. People will tell me a joke, and I think it's funny, and then I'm like, oh, what was that joke again? I'm terrible. I'm just terrible at it.
A lot of people are like that. No, I have a Rolodex brain. I can absorb it so well.
I remember lines from movies, but for some reason, I always screw up the punchline, or I get the joke halfway, and I'm like, no, that's not how they told it. I'm terrible at it. But, oh, my goodness. Well,
Tessa, I love you. Thank you for nerding out with me today.
Yes, love you too. Thank you so much. It's always fun nerding out, and it's so much fun talking about the past and the TV shows and all the movies, and it's just so much fun.
Yes, have fun with the Grease Zoom again.
Oh, thank you so much, and you have a wonderful rest of your weekend, and hopefully we can chat soon.
Yes, and again, give Lisa and Karen my love, and be safe out there.
I will. You too. God bless.
God bless. Bye-bye.
Okay, bye now. Bye-bye.
Well, there you have it. Tessa Richarde, she is a sweetheart. I friggin' love her. She is the best. She is a sweetheart. I just love her so much. There needs to be so many more Tessa Richards in this world, yet there's only one, and that's all we need because she is the kindest, most gentlest person that I've ever become friends with on this podcast. I just adore her. Well, until next time, this is Tommy Throwback Kovac saying there's no shame in living in the past because the present sucks. Later, dudes.